"You're going to marry us," said the three giant alien women already living on the spaceship he bought. Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. The air on the decommissioned cargo freighter smelled of rust and regret. Tyler Grant stood in what was supposedly the command deck, staring at the flickering control panels and wondering if he'd made the biggest mistake of his life. His life savings, 7 years of backbreaking work in the asteroid mines, all spent on this hulking piece of space junk that was supposed to be his ticket to freedom. "Well, she's not much to look at, but she's all yours now," said the shipyard manager, a weathered man with oil-stained overalls who seemed eager to be rid of both the ship and Tyler. "Paperwork's all transferred. The Nebula Wanderer belongs to you, son." He handed Tyler an outdated data tablet containing the ship's schematics and operational guides. "Thanks," Tyler mumbled, taking the tablet without enthusiasm. The shipyard manager gave him a curt nod and quickly made his exit, leaving Tyler alone with his questionable purchase. The Nebula Wanderer was a Class 4 cargo hauler, nearly 60 years old according to its registration. Tyler hadn't expected luxury, but he'd at least hoped for something that didn't look like it might decompress at the first hint of a solar wind. Still, the price had been right, suspiciously right, he now realized, and the ship was large enough to accommodate his plans of running small cargo operations along the outer colonies. Tyler sighed and began exploring his new home, trying to ignore the knot of anxiety forming in his stomach. The corridor leading from the command deck branched into several directions. According to the schematics, the left passage led to the crew quarters, the right to the engine room, and the center to the cargo hold. "Might as well check out where I'll be sleeping," he muttered to himself, heading down the left corridor. The lighting in this section was better, surprisingly so. The corridor was clean, the metal walls polished to a dull shine. Tyler frowned. This didn't match the decrepit state of the command deck at all. As he approached the crew quarters, he heard something that made him freeze in his tracks. Voices. Female voices. Tyler's hand instinctively moved to the small utility knife on his belt. He hadn't expected anyone else to be aboard. The shipyard manager had assured him the vessel had been fully decommissioned and cleared. "Hello," he called out, trying to keep his voice steady. "Is someone there?" The voices immediately fell silent. Tyler cautiously moved forward, reaching the entrance to what should have been the main crew quarters. The door was slightly ajar, soft light spilling out into the corridor. Taking a deep breath, he pushed it open. What he saw inside made him question his sanity. 3 women sat in a spacious, well-furnished room that looked nothing like what he'd expect on a cargo hauler. Plush seating, decorative plants, and elegant lighting created an almost luxurious atmosphere. But it wasn't the unexpected decor that made Tyler's jaw drop. It was the women themselves. They were enormous. Not just tall, but towering. Each appeared to be at least 7 feet in height, with proportionate builds that suggested both strength and grace. Their skin tones ranged from a pale lavender to a deep cerulean blue, and their hair, if the flowing, almost luminescent strands could be called hair, moved subtly, as if underwater. Their features were humanoid but with subtle differences. Slightly elongated eyes that caught the light like opals, small ridges along their temples, and ears that tapered to delicate points. They were, without question, not human. Tyler stood frozen in the doorway, his mind racing through possibilities. Stowaways? Hallucinations from some toxic leak in the life support system? An elaborate prank by the shipyard crew? The woman with pale lavender skin stood up, her movement fluid and graceful despite her size. She had to be nearly 8 feet tall. Her eyes, a startling silver color, fixed on Tyler with an expression of, was that relief? "You've finally arrived," she said, her voice melodious with an accent Tyler couldn't place. "We were beginning to worry." "Worry?" Tyler managed to choke out. "Who are you people? What are you doing on my ship?" The 3 women exchanged glances. "Your ship?" said the second woman, her skin a mid-range blue like a tropical ocean. Her hair was darker, almost indigo. "How interesting. I suppose technically that's correct now." The third woman, whose deep cerulean skin was marked with subtle patterns that seemed to shift in the light, stood and approached Tyler. He had to crane his neck to look up at her face. "Perhaps we should introduce ourselves," she said, her voice deeper than the others, but no less melodious. "I am Zarina. My companions are Lysara." She gestured to the lavender-skinned woman, and Telera, indicating the ocean blue one. "We are Celestians," Lysara added, as if that explained everything. Tyler took a step back, his mind whirling. "Celestians? I've never heard of your species." "We prefer to keep to ourselves," Telera said, moving to stand beside her companions. Together, they formed an imposing trio. "Our homeworld is far from your established trade routes." "That's fascinating," Tyler said, trying to sound calm while inching back toward the corridor. "But it doesn't explain why you're on my ship. A ship I just purchased, which was supposed to be empty." The three Celestians shared another look, some silent communication passing between them. "We were already here when the ship was decommissioned," Zarina explained. "The previous owner knew of our presence and didn't think to mention it to me." Tyler's voice rose in disbelief. "Humans can be." Lysara paused, searching for the right word. "Opportunistic. He likely feared you would withdraw from the purchase." Tyler ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "Well, he was right. I would have. I can't afford to feed myself, let alone 3 giant alien women. We require very little sustenance," Telera said quickly, "and we've made significant improvements to the ship's systems. The living quarters, the life support, even the engine efficiency." Tyler looked around, noticing for the first time how the crew quarters had indeed been transformed. What should have been a Spartan, utilitarian space was now comfortable, even beautiful. "We can be very useful," Lysara added, her silver eyes imploring. "We have knowledge of technologies your species has not yet developed." Tyler's mind raced. If what they said was true, maybe this wasn't a complete disaster. Advanced alien technology could give him an edge in the competitive cargo hauling business. But something still didn't add up. Why stay on this ship? Why not book passage somewhere else? The three Celestians fell silent, tension suddenly filling the room. "We are political refugees," Zarina finally said. "Returning to our homeworld is not an option, and your species has limited diplomatic relations with ours. We cannot simply walk onto one of your stations." "So you've been hiding on the ship? For how long?" 3 of your Earth years," Telera answered. Tyler whistled low. "And now you expect to just continue living here? Even though I'm the owner now." "We had hoped to come to an arrangement," Lysara said. "As Telera mentioned, we've improved many of the ship's systems. We could continue to do so. In exchange for passage," Tyler surmised. "In a manner of speaking," Zarina said, her voice taking on an odd tone. Something in her inflection made Tyler nervous. "What does that mean exactly?" The three Celestians looked at each other again, that silent communication passing between them. Then Lysara stepped forward, towering over Tyler. "According to our customs and the circumstances of our situation, there is a traditional solution," she said formally. "Which is?" Tyler prompted when she didn't continue. All three spoke in unison, their voices blending in perfect harmony. "You're going to marry us." Tyler blinked once, twice, certain he had misheard. "I'm sorry, what did you just say?" "You're going to marry us," Lysara repeated, this time alone. "All 3 of us. It is the traditional arrangement in our culture for our situation." Tyler's mind went blank, then restarted with a vengeance. That's ridiculous. I don't even know you. And I'm pretty sure polyandry isn't legal in any Earth jurisdiction, let alone whatever this would be called. "We are not in Earth jurisdiction," Telera pointed out reasonably. "We are in space, and the ship is now registered to you, which makes you the legal authority here." "That's not how it works." Tyler spluttered. "It is among Celestians," Zarina said firmly. "When refugees seek shelter, a bond of protection must be formed. Marriage is the strongest bond." Tyler backed up until he hit the corridor wall. "Look, I'm sorry about your political situation, truly. But I can't marry 3 aliens I just met. That's insane." "It is practical," Lysara countered. We need protection and legitimacy that your status as a human ship owner provides. You need our knowledge and abilities to make this vessel truly space-worthy. The marriage bond ensures mutual commitment to these goals. Tyler took a deep breath, trying to process the situation. Can I have some time to think about this? The three Celestians nodded in unison. Of course, Tellera said. We understand this is unexpected for you. Take all the time you need, Lasara added gently. Within reason, Zarina amended. We will need your decision before the ship leaves the shipyard, as our legal status becomes more complicated in transit. Right? Tyler said weakly. I'll just go check out the rest of the ship then. He backed out of the room, turned, and nearly ran down the corridor, his mind reeling. Marriage? To three alien women? It was absurd, impossible, completely insane. Yet as he made his way to the engine room, he couldn't help but notice how smoothly the ship's systems were running. The engines hummed with a precision that shouldn't have been possible in a vessel this old. The life support readings were perfect. Even the artificial gravity felt more stable than it had when he first came aboard. These Celestians, whoever they were, clearly knew their technology. Tyler reached the cargo hold and sank down against a crate, trying to think clearly. He had spent every credit he had on this ship. Walking away wasn't an option. Neither was forcing the Celestians off. Even if he could somehow overpower 3 7-foot aliens, he had a feeling that would violate about a dozen interspecies protocols. And if he was being honest with himself, their offer had certain practical benefits. The ship was running better than it had any right to. If they could continue making improvements, he might actually turn a profit on cargo runs. And having crew members who didn't need to be paid would certainly help his bottom line. But marriage? That was a step too far. There had to be another solution. After an hour of deliberation, Tyler returned to the crew quarters. The three Celestians were exactly where he had left them, as if they hadn't moved at all. I have a counter-proposal, he announced, summoning all his confidence. You can stay aboard as crew members. We'll register you properly at the next station with Colonial Administration. No marriage necessary. Lasara shook her head, her luminescent hair rippling. That would require documentation we don't have. Colonial Administration would ask questions we cannot answer. Falsifying such documents carries severe penalties, Tellera added. Then what about asylum? Tyler suggested. If you're political refugees. Claiming asylum would alert our government to our whereabouts, Zarina interrupted. The consequences would be unpleasant. Tyler paced the room, frustration mounting. There has to be another way. I can't just marry 3 people I just met. Why not? Lasara asked, genuine curiosity in her voice. The question stopped Tyler short. Because that's not how humans do things. Marriage is about love, compatibility, shared goals. Are shared goals not what we've discussed? Tellera tilted her head. You need our help with the ship. We need your protection and legitimacy. That's a business arrangement, not a marriage, Tyler insisted. Among Celestians, marriages often begin as practical arrangements, Zarina explained. Affection may develop later, but it is not a prerequisite. Tyler sighed, rubbing his temples. Look, even if I agreed, which I'm not saying I am, how would this even work? I don't know anything about Celestian marriage customs. The 3 aliens exchanged glances again. The ceremony is simple, Lasara said. A mutual declaration of intent, an exchange of biological markers, and registration of the bond. Biological markers? Tyler asked suspiciously. A small blood sample, Tellera clarified. For genetic compatibility analysis. It's traditional. Tyler laughed nervously. And if we're not compatible? We already know we are, Zarina stated matter-of-factly. We've analyzed your DNA while you slept in the shipyard office last night. You what? Tyler's voice rose in alarm. How did you even get a sample? You cut your hand on the access panel, Lasara reminded him. We collected a small sample from the panel after you left to sign the final papers. Tyler stared at them in disbelief. That's invasive. And creepy. It was necessary, Tellera said, unperturbed. We couldn't risk bonding with an incompatible human. So you've been planning this all along, Tyler accused. You knew someone would eventually buy this ship, and you were just waiting to spring this marriage proposal on whoever it was? Not exactly, Zarina said. We've observed many potential buyers. Most were unsuitable: crime syndicate representatives, corporate agents, military contractors. You were the first independent operator with compatible genetics and a favorable psychological profile. You've been studying me? Tyler felt a chill run down his spine. Of course, Lasara said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. We couldn't entrust our safety to just anyone. Tyler sank into one of the plush chairs, trying to process everything. So let me get this straight. You three have been living on this ship for years, waiting for the right buyer to come along, so you could propose marriage and gain legal protection. That is an accurate summary, Telera confirmed. And if I refuse? The three Celestians looked at each other, their expressions growing somber. Then we would have no choice but to leave, Zarina said quietly. We would remove our modifications to the ship's systems first, of course. Remove them? Tyler sat up straight. What does that mean exactly? The improvements we've made are integrated with Celestian technology, Lasara explained. They are our property. If we must leave, they leave with us. Tyler thought about the smoothly running engines, the perfect life support readings, the stable artificial gravity. If they removed all that, would the ship even function? He suspected not, at least not well enough to be profitable. That sounds an awful lot like blackmail, he said bitterly. It is not intended as such, Telera assured him. We simply cannot leave our technology behind. It would be a violation of our most sacred laws. Tyler stood and paced the room again, weighing his options. He could walk away from the ship entirely, losing his life savings in the process. He could try to run the ship without their improvements, likely leading to financial ruin. Or he could agree to their proposal, entering a marriage of convenience with three alien women he barely knew. None of the options seemed good. What exactly would this marriage entail? He asked finally. What would be expected of me? Protection and legitimacy, as we've discussed, Lasara answered. You would register us as your spouses at the next Colonial Administration checkpoint, allowing us to travel freely under your human citizenship extension. And in return, we would continue to maintain and improve the ship's systems, Telera added. We would also serve as crew members, assisting with navigation, cargo management, and trading negotiations. We are quite skilled in several areas that would benefit a cargo operation, Zarina noted. Telera is an expert in propulsion systems, Lasara in life support and environmental control, and I specialize in navigation and communication technologies. Tyler had to admit, having such specialists on board would be invaluable. Most independent operators could only dream of having such a qualified crew. And what about Tyler felt his face grow hot. The more personal aspects of marriage. The three Celestians looked at him with identical expressions of polite confusion. Personal aspects? Lasara repeated. You know, Tyler gestured vaguely, his embarrassment mounting. Physical expectations. Understanding dawned on their faces, followed by what looked suspiciously like amusement. Celestian marriages are not consummated in the way human marriages traditionally are, Telera explained, her tone clinical. The exchange of biological markers during the ceremony is considered the physical union. So you're not expecting, that is, we wouldn't. Tyler stumbled over his words. Physical intimacy is not a requirement, Zarina assured him. Though it is not forbidden either, should mutual desire develop naturally over time. Tyler felt a strange mix of relief and something he didn't care to examine too closely. And how long would this arrangement last? Until we can safely return to our homeworld, or until we establish independent legal status elsewhere, Lasara said. 5 of your Earth years, at minimum. 5 years, Tyler exclaimed. That's a long time to be married to anyone, let alone 3 people I just met. It is not so long from a Celestian perspective, Telera said. Our species typically lives for 200 of your years. That information brought Tyler up short. 200 years? So you're all. By your standards, we are quite young, Zarina told him. I am 72. Telera is 68. and Lasara is 65. Practically children, Tyler muttered sarcastically. Hardly. Lasara corrected him seriously. We reached maturity at 50. Tyler shook his head, feeling overwhelmed. This is a lot to take in. We understand, Telera said gently. Perhaps you should rest. The shipyard will not require departure until tomorrow morning. Tyler nodded, suddenly aware of how exhausted he felt. Is there somewhere I can sleep? Preferably alone. The captain's quarters are prepared for you, Zarina said, pointing down the corridor. Third door on the right. We took the liberty of improving the accommodations there as well. Of course you did, Tyler sighed. All right, I'll think about your proposal and give you my answer in the morning. The three Celestians nodded in unison, their expressions inscrutable. Sleep well, Tyler Grant, Lasara said. Tyler started, realizing he had never told them his full name. But of course they knew it. They had been studying him, after all. With a curt nod, he left the room and made his way to the captain's quarters, his mind racing. The room was, as promised, immaculately prepared. The standard utilitarian bunk had been replaced with a comfortable-looking bed. The lighting was soft and adjustable. There was even a small fountain in one corner, its gentle burbling creating a soothing white noise. Tyler sank onto the bed, his thoughts chaotic. This morning, he had been an independent man about to embark on a new chapter of his life. Now, he was facing a possible marriage to three alien women who had effectively hijacked his ship before he even bought it. It was absurd, insane, impossible. And yet, as he lay back on the surprisingly comfortable bed, Tyler couldn't help but consider the practical benefits. A perfectly functioning ship, a skilled crew that required no wages, protection from the various pirates and criminals that plagued the outer colonies. Was it really such a bad deal? Tyler drifted off to sleep, his dreams filled with luminescent hair and silver eyes, and the looming decision that awaited him in the morning. He woke to the soft chime of an alarm, momentarily disoriented by the unfamiliar surroundings. Then the events of the previous day came rushing back, and Tyler groaned. The three Celestian women. Their absurd marriage proposal. His impossible decision. Tyler got up and found that a small refresher unit had been installed in the corner of the captain's quarters, another upgrade courtesy of his uninvited guests. After cleaning up, he steeled himself and headed back to the crew quarters where he knew the three aliens would be waiting. They were indeed there, sitting in the same positions as when he had left them. Tyler wondered briefly if they had moved at all during the night. Good morning, Tyler Grant, Lasara greeted him. Did you rest well? Well enough, Tyler replied cautiously. I've been thinking about your proposal. And? Telera prompted when he didn't immediately continue. Tyler took a deep breath. I have conditions. The three Celestians exchanged glances, then nodded for him to continue. First, this is a business arrangement, not a real marriage. We're clear on that, right? We understand your perspective, Zarina acknowledged. Second, I remain captain of this vessel. All final decisions about routes, cargo, and operations are mine. Acceptable, Lasara agreed. Though we hope you will value our input. I will, Tyler assured her. That's actually my third condition, complete honesty. No more secrets, no more studying me without my knowledge. If this is going to work, we need trust. That is reasonable, Telera said. And from our side, we would ask the same. Fair enough, Tyler nodded. Fourth, this arrangement is temporary. 5 years maximum, as you suggested. After that, we reassess. Agreed, Zarina said. And finally, Tyler continued. We need a better explanation for anyone who asks. I'm not telling dock officials or potential clients that you're my alien wives. We need a cover story. The three Celestians considered this. We could be registered as specialist contractors, Lasara suggested. Many independent operators hire crew with unique skills. The marriage would remain our legal status for documentation purposes, Telera added, but need not be advertised publicly. Tyler thought about it. That could work. Specialist contractors with rare expertise, working for, passage and room and board. That's not uncommon in the outer colonies. Then we are in agreement? Zarina asked, looking at Tyler intently. Tyler took another deep breath. Was he really doing this? It seemed insane, and yet also strangely logical given the circumstances. Yes, he said finally. I agree to your proposal, with the conditions I've outlined. The three Celestians rose in unison, towering over him. Their expressions were solemn, but with a hint of what might have been relief. Then let us proceed with the ceremony, Lasara said. It will not take long. Before Tyler could respond, Talera produced a small device from a hidden pocket in her clothing. It looked like a metallic disc about the size of his palm, inscribed with flowing symbols he couldn't read. This is a bonding circuit, she explained. It will record our declarations and analyze the biological markers. Right now? Tyler asked, suddenly nervous. Don't we need witnesses or something? The bonding circuit serves as witness and recorder, Zarina told him. It is all that is required under Celestian law. And what about human law? Tyler pressed. The colonial administration will recognize the Celestian ceremony as valid under the Interspecies Cultural Recognition Act, Lasara assured him. We have studied your legal codes extensively. Of course you have, Tyler muttered. All right, what do I need to do? Place your hand on the bonding circuit when it glows, Talera instructed, setting the metallic disc on a small table. Then state your full name and your intention to form a bond. Tyler watched as each of the Celestians placed her hand on the disc in turn, stating her name and intention in their melodious voices. Then the disc began to glow with a soft blue light, and Talera nodded to him. With a feeling of surreal detachment, Tyler placed his hand on the warm metal. I, Tyler James Grant, agree to form a bond with Lasara, Talera, and Zarina of the Celestians. The disc grew warmer under his palm, and Tyler felt a sharp sting. He tried to pull away, but found he couldn't move his hand. What's happening? He asked, alarmed. The biological marker collection, Lasara explained calmly. It will only take a moment. Sure enough, the pain subsided quickly, and Tyler was able to remove his hand. A small drop of blood welled up from an almost invisible puncture in his palm. The bonding circuit pulsed with light, changing from blue to a deep purple, then to a bright silver that reminded Tyler of Lasara's eyes. Symbols appeared on its surface, flowing and changing too quickly for him to track. The bond is confirmed, Zarina announced as the light faded. The ceremony is complete. We are now joined according to Celestian law. Tyler stared at the now dormant disc, then at the three towering alien women who were, apparently, now his wives. That's it, he asked incredulously. We're married. The formal aspects, yes, Talera confirmed. The documentation for colonial administration will need to be completed at our first port of call, but the bond itself is established. Tyler ran a hand through his hair, feeling strangely anticlimactic. So what happens now? Now, Lasara said with a small smile, we prepare the ship for departure. The shipyard expects us to clear the dock within 3 hours. Right, Tyler said, focusing on the practical aspects of their situation. I should check the command deck, make sure all systems are operational. They are, Zarina assured him. We performed a full diagnostic while you slept. The Nebula Wanderer is ready for your commands, Captain. The title startled Tyler. Captain. Despite everything, this was still his ship, his dream. And now he had a crew, an unusual one, to be sure, but possibly the most qualified crew any independent operator in the outer colonies could hope for. All right then, he said, straightening his shoulders. Let's get this ship ready for departure. Talera, you said you're the propulsion expert? I'd like you to double-check the engine outputs. Lasara, run a final check on life support. Zarina, plot us a course to the Proxima colony. There should be good cargo opportunities there. The three Celestians nodded, their expressions shifting from solemn to something more professional, almost eager. Yes, Captain, they responded in unison and moved with graceful efficiency to carry out his orders. As Tyler watched them go, he couldn't help but wonder what he had gotten himself into. Marriage to 3 alien women. A ship with mysterious technological upgrades. A 5-year commitment to a situation he barely understood. Yet somehow, as he made his way to the command deck, Tyler felt more optimistic than he had since purchasing the ship. Whatever happened next, At least it wouldn't be boring. The command deck looked entirely different from the day before. Gone were the flickering panels and outdated displays. In their place were sleek, efficient interfaces that hummed with power. The captain's chair, previously a worn, uncomfortable affair, had been replaced with something ergonomic and supportive. Tyler sat down, running his hands over the new controls with a mixture of awe and apprehension. What exactly had he agreed to? "The course to Proxima Colony is plotted, Captain," Zarina said, entering the command deck. "We can depart as soon as the shipyard clears us. The engines are operating at 127% of manufacturer specifications," Talera reported, joining them. "I've made some adjustments to the fuel mixture that should improve efficiency by an additional 3%. Life support is stable and optimized," Lasara added, completing the trio. "I've also enhanced the radiation shielding. We could fly through a moderate solar storm with minimal risk." Tyler looked at each of them in turn, these three enormous alien women who had upended his life in less than a day. His wives, according to Celestian law. His crew, according to the story they would tell the world. "Thank you," he said simply. "Let's get this ship moving." As the Nebula Wanderer pulled away from the shipyard, its engines humming with impossible efficiency, Tyler Grant couldn't shake the feeling that his life had just become vastly more complicated and potentially more interesting than he had ever imagined. What he didn't know was just how right he was, and that the surprises were only beginning. The journey to Proxima Colony would take 3 days, even with the Celestians' enhanced propulsion system. 3 days for Tyler to adjust to his new reality. Captain of a retrofitted cargo ship and husband to 3 alien women who towered over him in more ways than one. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," Zarina announced on the second day, her elegant fingers dancing over the communications panel. "Automated customs notification from Proxima. They're requesting our manifest and crew information." Tyler tensed. This would be their first test. "What should we tell them about you three?" "The truth," Lasara suggested, "but selectively. We are specialist contractors with expertise in ship systems. The marriage documentation can remain confidential for now." "Is that legal?" Tyler asked. "It is not illegal," Talera clarified. "Many ship captains list only essential information in preliminary customs reports." Tyler nodded, still uncertain but willing to trust their knowledge. "All right, send them our cargo manifest. Empty for now, and list the crew as myself as captain and you 3 as specialist contractors." Zarina transmitted the information, and they waited anxiously for the response. When it came, it was mercifully routine, just an automated docking assignment and schedule for their arrival the following day. "That was easier than I expected," Tyler admitted. "The real test will be face-to-face interactions," Lasara cautioned. "Humans often react strongly to Celestian physical characteristics." "Speaking of which," Tyler said, seizing the opportunity to satisfy his curiosity, "why are you all so tall?" The 3 Celestians exchanged their now familiar glances of silent communication. "Celestian homeworld gravity is approximately 0.7 of Earth standard," Talera explained. "Our species evolved with less gravitational pressure, allowing for greater height." "And the skin colors?" Tyler asked, gesturing to their varying blue and lavender hues. "Solar radiation adaptations," Zarina said. "Our star emits different wavelengths than your sun. Our skin pigmentation evolved to process that radiation optimally." Tyler nodded, fascinated despite himself. "And your hair, the way it moves, it's almost like it's underwater." "It responds to electromagnetic fields," Lasara told him, running a hand through her luminescent strands. "It's sensitive to energy fluctuations, including those generated by emotional states. A useful evolutionary trait for a species with limited facial expressions by human standards." "So your hair shows your emotions?" Tyler asked, intrigued. "To other Celestians, yes," Talera confirmed. "Though I doubt you can read the subtleties yet." "Maybe someday," Tyler said without thinking, then caught himself. This was a temporary arrangement, he reminded himself firmly. 5 years maximum. No need to consider a future where he'd learned to read Celestian emotional cues. The rest of the journey passed in similar conversations, with Tyler learning more about his unusual crew and the Celestians gradually revealing details of their culture and history. By the time they reached Proxima Colony, Tyler felt more at ease with his situation, though the strangeness of it still struck him at odd moments. Proxima Colony was a bustling hub of commerce, one of the more established outposts in the outer colonies. Its massive space dock accommodated ships of all sizes, from personal shuttles to enormous corporate freighters. The Nebula Wanderer, with its unassuming exterior, attracted little attention as it slid into its assigned berth. "Remember," Tyler cautioned as they prepared to disembark, "let me do the talking with customs." The three Celestians nodded in agreement, donning loose, hooded garments that Lasara had altered to better fit their towering frames. The clothing wouldn't hide their unusual features entirely, but it might make them less immediately conspicuous. The customs official, a bored-looking woman named Officer Chun according to her badge, barely glanced up from her terminal as Tyler approached her booth. "Manifest and crew identification," she said mechanically. Tyler handed over the data tablet containing the information they had prepared. Officer Chin scanned it, her eyes flicking across the screen with practiced efficiency. "Purpose of visit to Proxima?" she asked. "Seeking cargo contracts," Tyler replied honestly. "The Nebula Wanderer is a Class 4 hauler with enhanced systems. We're hoping to secure some transport jobs." Officer Chin nodded absently, still scrolling through the data. "Your specialist contractors," she said, looking up for the first time. "They're not human." It wasn't a question. Tyler swallowed nervously. "No, they're Celestian. Experts in propulsion, life support, and navigation systems." The officer's eyebrows rose slightly. "Celestian? Don't see many of those. Ever, actually. We keep to ourselves," Zarina said, stepping forward. Her height was even more imposing next to the seated customs officer. Officer Chun studied the three aliens with newfound interest. "You'll need to register with Colonial Administration if you're staying more than 3 standard days. Regulation 47B, non-human specialists require proper work documentation." "We understand," Lasara said smoothly. "We'll attend to that immediately." The officer nodded, then turned back to Tyler. "Everything seems in order, Captain Grant. Welcome to Proxima Colony. Docking fees are due upon departure, standard rates. You're cleared for 7 days." "Thank you," Tyler said, relieved that the interaction had gone so smoothly. As they moved away from the customs booth, Tyler let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. That wasn't so bad. "The easy part," Tellera murmured. "Colonial Administration will require more detailed documentation." She was right, as Tyler discovered 2 hours later when they arrived at the Colonial Administration office. The clerk, a fastidious man named Elliot Scott, was far more thorough than Officer Chin had been. "Specialist contractors?" Elliot repeated, looking skeptically at the 3 towering Celestians. "I'll need to see their work permits, certifications, and residency status." Tyler felt his heart sink. "They're new additions to my crew. We were told we could register them here." Elliot sighed, as if dealing with ignorant ship captains was the bane of his existence. New registrations require extensive documentation. Species of origin, educational credentials, health screenings, security clearance, especially for non-humans without established colonial presence. Tyler glanced at his Celestian crew, seeing the concern in their subtle expressions and in the way their luminescent hair rippled with tension. "Is there an alternative process?" he asked carefully. "Perhaps something for special circumstances?" Elliot's eyes narrowed suspiciously. "What kind of special circumstances?" Tyler hesitated, then decided to take a risk. "They're my wives." Elliot blinked, looking from Tyler to the 3 enormous alien women and back again. "Your wives?" "Yes," Tyler confirmed, trying to sound confident. "We were married according to Celestian custom. I understood that under the Interspecies Cultural Recognition Act, such unions are legally recognized in colonial territories." Elliot gaped for a moment, then composed himself. "Well, yes, technically that's correct, but then surely the spousal visa process would be more appropriate than work permits?" Tyler pressed, following Lasara's lead from earlier discussions. Elliot fumbled with his terminal, clearly searching for the relevant regulations. I suppose, yes, here it is. Interspecies spousal visas. But I'll need to see proof of the marriage. Zarina stepped forward, producing the bonding circuit from within her robes. This contains the official record of our union, she explained, placing it on Elliot's desk. The administrator looked at the device skeptically. Our systems may not be compatible with. The bonding circuit activated at Zarina's touch, projecting a holographic display of flowing Celestian script that gradually transformed into standard English text, detailing the marriage ceremony and listing Tyler Grant as the legal spouse of Lasara, Telera, and Zarina of the Celestian homeworld. Elliot's eyes widened at the display. That's quite impressive technology. Celestians are known for their advanced systems, Lasara said modestly. Elliot studied the projection for several minutes, occasionally checking references on his own terminal. Finally, he sat back with a sigh. Everything appears to be in order, unusual as it is, he admitted. I'll process the spousal visas immediately. They'll grant residency and work privileges throughout colonial territories as long as they remain married to you, Captain Grant. Tyler felt a wave of relief. Thank you. I will need to conduct a brief interview, standard procedure for all interspecies marriages, Elliot added, his professional demeanor returning, to ensure the union is legitimate and not a means of circumventing immigration protocols. Tyler tensed again. Of course. The interview was uncomfortable, but not disastrous. Elliot asked about how they had met. On the ship, technically true, how long they had known each other. Tyler stretched the truth here, and their reasons for marriage, mutual benefit and protection, which was honest enough. Throughout the questioning, the Celestians remained composed, their answers complementing Tyler's without contradicting the essential narrative they had constructed. By the end, even the skeptical administrator seemed satisfied. Congratulations on your marriage, unusual as it may be, he said, processing the final documentation. Your wives now have legal status throughout colonial space as long as your union remains valid. Thank you, Tyler said sincerely. As they left the administration building, Tyler felt both exhausted and relieved. That was too close, he muttered. You handled it well, Lasara assured him, her silver eyes appraising him with newfound respect. We are now officially recognized as your spouses, Telera noted. Our legal status is secure, which means we can focus on establishing your cargo business, Zarina added practically. Tyler nodded, still processing the reality of what had just happened. He was now officially, legally married to 3 alien women nearly twice his height. It was absurd, yet it had worked. They had accomplished exactly what they had set out to do. Right? He said, focusing on the next step. Let's find ourselves a cargo contract. The following days established a pattern that would come to define their unusual partnership. Tyler handled the business negotiations, securing modest but profitable cargo contracts to nearby colonies. The Celestians maintained and continued to improve the ship's systems, gradually transforming the Nebula Wanderer into one of the most efficient vessels in its class. Their first job was transporting agricultural equipment to New Eden, a farming colony 3 days from Proxima. The contract paid well enough, but the real test came when they encountered an unexpected asteroid field that had drifted into the regular shipping lane. Navigational hazard ahead, Zarina announced from her station on the command deck. Uncharted debris field, likely from recent asteroid collision. Standard routes compromised. Tyler studied the sensor readings with concern. Rerouting would cost them nearly a day, potentially jeopardizing their delivery timeline and reputation as a reliable transporter. Options? He asked, turning to his crew. I can plot a course through the field, Zarina suggested. With manual navigation, it's possible. Too risky, Telera countered. However, I've been working on enhancing our deflector shields. They're not fully tested, but they should be able to handle impacts from smaller debris. What about combining approaches? Lasara offered. Zarina navigates a conservative path through the less dense sections, while Tellera's shields protect us from the smaller particles we can't avoid. Tyler considered their suggestions, impressed by their collaborative problem-solving. Let's do it. Zarina, plot the safest course through. Tellera, divert power to the forward shields. Lasara, monitor life support, and be ready to seal any compartments if we take damage. The Celestians moved with fluid efficiency, each taking her station with professional focus. Tyler watched as Zarina's hands danced over the navigation controls, her luminescent hair flowing with concentration. Course plotted, she announced. Entering the debris field in 3 minutes. Shields at maximum, Tellera confirmed. They should hold against anything smaller than 2 meters in diameter. All compartments secure, Lasara reported. Emergency systems on standby. Tyler took a deep breath and settled into the captain's chair. Proceed. The next 20 minutes were among the most tense of Tyler's life. The Nebula Wanderer weaved through the chaotic debris field, occasionally shuddering as smaller rocks glanced off the enhanced shields. Zarina's piloting was masterful, her reflexes seemingly faster than human capability as she adjusted their course to avoid the larger asteroids. Shield impact at Section 14, Tellera called out at one point, holding at 72% capacity. Compensating, Zarina replied calmly, banking the ship to avoid a cluster of medium-sized rocks. Tyler gripped the arms of his chair, feeling simultaneously useless and amazed as his alien crew navigated the crisis with practiced coordination. They worked together as if they had been doing so for years, anticipating each other's actions and responding to changing conditions without panic. Finally, the sensors showed clear space ahead. We're through, Zarina announced, a note of satisfaction in her melodious voice. Shields returning to normal configuration, Tellera reported. Minor energy fluctuations, but no damage to the emitters. All ship systems nominal, Lasara confirmed. No hull breaches or structural stress beyond acceptable parameters. Tyler let out a long breath, relieved and impressed. That was incredible work, all of you. The 3 Celestians turned to him, and Tyler was startled to see what looked like pride in their subtle expressions and in the brightened glow of their flowing hair. Thank you, Captain, they responded in unison. In that moment, something shifted in Tyler's perception of their arrangement. This wasn't just a marriage of convenience or a business transaction. They were becoming a genuine crew, relying on each other's strengths and working together toward common goals. The realization was both comforting and unsettling. Tyler had agreed to this arrangement expecting it to remain impersonal and practical. He hadn't counted on developing respect for these alien women, or on feeling a growing sense of responsibility toward them that went beyond their legal agreement. The rest of the journey to New Eden passed without incident, and they delivered their cargo a full day ahead of schedule despite the detour through the asteroid field. Their client, a colony administrator named Riley Cooper, was impressed enough to offer them another contract immediately, transporting the colony's grain harvest to the mining outpost at Vega Station. Your reputation is spreading, Lasara observed as they prepared for their next journey. 2 more potential clients have contacted us while you were negotiating with Administrator Cooper. Tyler nodded, pleased but also thoughtful. People are noticing our efficiency. The enhanced systems you've installed make us faster and more reliable than most independent operators. Is that a problem? Tellera asked, picking up on his concern. It might draw attention, Tyler admitted. The wrong kind of attention. There are corporations that don't appreciate competition, even from small operators like us. We should be cautious, Zarina agreed. Perhaps not demonstrate the full capabilities of our enhancements for a while. Good idea, Tyler said. Let's be fast and reliable, but not suspiciously so. Over the next few months, they established themselves as dependable cargo haulers in the outer colonies. The Nebula Wanderer became known for its punctuality and ability to navigate difficult routes that other independents avoided. Tyler handled the business with growing confidence, while the Celestians continued to make incremental improvements to the ship's systems. Their unusual living arrangement settled into a comfortable routine. Tyler maintained his private quarters, while the three Celestians shared the communal space they had originally modified. They took meals together in the ship's small galley, exchanging stories and information about their respective cultures. Tyler learned that the Celestians had fled their homeworld after a political purge targeted their scientific caste for developing technologies deemed disruptive by the ruling religious authorities. Lasara, Telera, and Zarina had been researchers at the same institute, working on advancements that would have revolutionized Celestian space travel, making it possible for their species to expand beyond their isolated system for the first time. The elders feared change, Zarina explained one evening as they shared a meal in the galley. They believed that contact with other species would contaminate our culture, so they banned your research. Tyler asked. Worse, Lasara said, her luminescent hair dimming with remembered fear. They declared it heresy. The penalty is neural recalibration, which is, Tyler prompted when she didn't continue. A procedure that erases selected memories and cognitive patterns, Telera explained clinically, though her hair also dimmed. It leaves the subject's core personality intact, but removes specific knowledge and the ability to relearn in targeted areas. Tyler felt a chill at the description. They would have erased your scientific knowledge, your life's work, and our curiosity, Zarina added quietly. The desire to explore, to discover. That is the true purpose of recalibration, not just to remove dangerous knowledge, but to eliminate the drive that led to its development. That's horrible, Tyler said with genuine outrage. No wonder you fled. We had little choice, Lasara acknowledged. We took what research we could and escaped on a supply ship bound for a trading outpost. From there, we made our way to human space, eventually finding refuge on the Nebula Wanderer before you purchased it. And the technologies you've installed on the ship? Tyler asked. Are those from your research? The three Celestians exchanged glances. Some are adaptations of our work, Telera confirmed. Others are standard Celestian technologies, advanced by human standards, but not revolutionary to our people. We've been careful not to implement anything that would attract serious attention, Zarina assured him. The improvements appear incremental rather than transformative to outside observers. Tyler nodded, appreciating their caution. And your government? Are they still looking for you? Undoubtedly, Lasara said soberly. But their reach in human space is limited. As long as we maintain our current identities and remain mobile, detection is unlikely. The conversation gave Tyler a deeper understanding of the Celestian situation and of the risk they had taken in trusting him with their safety. It also explained their insistence on marriage as the most secure form of protection. As legal spouses of a human citizen, they had rights and protections that would be difficult for Celestian authorities to circumvent, even if they were discovered. 6 months into their arrangement, the Nebula Wanderer had established a solid reputation and a growing list of regular clients. They had completed 17 successful cargo runs, each more profitable than the last thanks to the Celestians' continuous improvements to the ship's efficiency. It was after delivering a shipment of medical supplies to a remote research station that their comfortable routine was disrupted. The ship was 2 days out from the station when Zarina detected an unusual signal. Captain, she called from the navigation station, her voice tense. I'm picking up a transmission on a restricted frequency. Celestian in origin. Tyler felt his stomach tighten. Are they searching for you? Uncertain, Zarina replied, her fingers dancing over the controls as she attempted to decode the signal. It's encrypted, but I recognize elements of the pattern. It appears to be an automated beacon. Can they detect us? Tyler asked, concerned. Not if we maintain current protocols, Telera assured him from her station. Our energy signature is masked to appear as a standard human vessel. I've isolated the signal, Zarina announced after several tense minutes. It's not a search beacon. It's a distress call. The three Celestians exchanged alarmed glances, their luminescent hair rippling with agitation. Another refugee? Lasara suggested. Possibly, Zarina agreed. The beacon contains identification markers for a research vessel. Celestian Scientific Division. Could it be a trap? Tyler asked cautiously. Unlikely, Telera said. The signal uses obsolete encryption protocols, ones that were replaced shortly after our escape. Authorities would use current methods to lure fugitives. Tyler considered their options. Investigating a Celestian distress signal carried obvious risks, but ignoring a genuine call for help went against everything he believed in as a ship captain. "How far off our course is the signal source?" he asked. "Approximately 6 hours at standard speed," Zarina reported. "It appears to be coming from an uncharted asteroid in the Hades belt." Tyler made his decision. "Plot a course. We'll investigate, but cautiously. Be ready to leave quickly if it looks suspicious." The three Celestians nodded, their expressions a mixture of concern and what might have been hope. 6 hours later, the Nebula Wanderer approached a medium-sized asteroid in the sparsely populated Hades belt. The irregular rock was unremarkable except for a faint energy signature emanating from a deep crater on its surface. "There's definitely something down there," Tellera confirmed, studying the sensor readings. "A small vessel, heavily damaged. Minimal power output. Life signs?" Tyler asked. "Faint but present," Lasara reported. "One Celestian biosignature, weakened but stable." "Can we dock?" Tyler questioned, examining the crater's irregular shape. Zarina shook her head. "The terrain is too unstable. We would need to use the shuttle." The Nebula Wanderer's shuttle was another of the Celestians' improvements, a small craft that they had constructed from spare parts and their own technology. It was efficient but cramped, especially for passengers of their size. "I'll go," Tyler decided. "I'm smaller and can maneuver better in tight spaces." "You cannot go alone," Lasara objected. "You have no experience with Celestian technology or medical needs." "I'll accompany you," Tellera volunteered. "My engineering expertise may be needed if their systems are damaged." Tyler nodded. "All right, Lasara and Zarina, keep the ship ready for immediate departure if necessary." The descent to the asteroid's surface was tense but uneventful. Tyler piloted the shuttle while Tellera monitored the distress signal, which grew stronger as they approached. They landed near the edge of the crater, the shuttle's stabilizers compensating for the asteroid's minimal gravity. "We'll need suits," Tellera noted, retrieving 2 from the shuttle's storage compartment. "The atmospheric containment on their vessel appears compromised." Suited up, they made their way carefully across the crater's uneven floor toward the damaged ship. It was smaller than the Nebula Wanderer, with the sleek lines and iridescent hull material that Tyler had come to recognize as Celestian design. A jagged tear ran along one side, exposing internal components to the vacuum of space. "Research Vessel Stellar Horizon," Tellera read from markings on the hull. "It's from my former institute." They found the airlock partially functional and managed to cycle through into the ship's interior. Emergency lighting cast an eerie blue glow through the corridors, which were designed for Celestian proportions, making Tyler feel even smaller than usual next to Tellera's towering form. "Life support is active in the central chamber," Tellera reported, checking a wall panel. "That's where the biosignature is located." They made their way to the chamber, finding the door sealed but responsive to Tellera's access codes. It slid open with a pneumatic hiss, revealing a space filled with damaged scientific equipment and, in the center, a stasis pod glowing with faint energy. Tellera rushed forward, examining the pod's control panel. "It's functional but failing," she announced. "The occupant is in medical stasis." She activated a sequence on the panel, and the pod's opaque cover became transparent, revealing its occupant. A Celestian male with pale blue skin and silver-white hair that lay motionless around his elongated features. "Minter Kelvin," Tellera gasped, recognition clear in her voice. "He was our research director." "Is he alive?" Tyler asked, stepping closer. "Yes, but the stasis field is deteriorating," Tellera reported urgently. "We need to get him to the Nebula Wanderer. Our medical facilities are basic but better than what remains here." "Can we move the pod?" Tyler asked, eyeing the large device skeptically. Tellera shook her head. "The power system is integrated with the ship. We'll need to transfer him to a portable stasis unit." She hesitated. "Which we don't have." Tyler thought quickly. "Could we adapt something from the shuttle?" or cobble together a temporary solution from parts here. Tellera's expression brightened. Yes, the shuttle's emergency preservation system could be modified, and there are components here we can salvage. Her luminescent hair swirled with sudden energy. You continue searching the ship for other survivors or useful technology. I'll begin the modifications. Tyler nodded and continued exploring the damaged vessel while Tellera worked on the stasis transfer system. Most compartments were either destroyed or depressurized, but he managed to locate the ship's data core, a crystalline structure that Tellera had once described as the Celestian equivalent of a black box recorder. I found their data core, he reported, returning to the central chamber. It looks intact. Excellent, Tellera said without looking up from her work. That may explain what happened here. Minter Kelvin would never have fled without good reason. How's the transfer system coming? Tyler asked, watching her deft manipulation of components that looked both familiar and alien. Nearly complete, Tellera replied. I've adapted the shuttle's emergency system to maintain his neural patterns during transport. It won't last long, perhaps 3 hours, but enough to reach the Nebula Wanderer. Working together, they carefully transferred the unconscious Celestian from the ship's failing stasis pod to Tellera's improvised system. Even for a Celestian, Minter Kelvin was tall, easily 8.5 feet, Tyler estimated. Moving him through the damaged corridors and into the shuttle proved challenging, but they managed it with careful coordination. Shuttle to Nebula Wanderer. Tyler transmitted once they were safely aboard their small craft. Mission successful. 1 survivor recovered. Condition stable but critical. Prepare medical bay for emergency stasis transfer. Understood, came Lasara's prompt reply. Medical bay is being prepared. Zarina has plotted a direct return course. The return journey felt agonizingly slow, though it actually took less time than their descent. Tellera monitored the improvised stasis unit constantly, making minute adjustments to maintain the delicate balance, keeping Minter Kelvin alive. Once aboard the Nebula Wanderer, they rushed the unconscious Celestian to the medical bay, another area that had been significantly enhanced beyond standard cargo ship specifications. Lasara and Zarina were waiting, their expressions a mixture of shock and hope at the sight of their former mentor. The stasis field is failing, Tellera reported urgently. We need to stabilize him immediately. What followed was an intense medical procedure unlike anything Tyler had ever witnessed. The 3 Celestians worked in perfect harmony, their movements precise and coordinated as they connected their mentor to the ship's systems and administered treatments that Tyler could barely comprehend. Neural patterns stabilizing, Zarina announced after nearly an hour of tense work. Cellular regeneration initiated. Respiratory and circulatory functions restored to minimal sustainable levels, Tellera added. He will live, Lasara concluded, stepping back from the medical platform. Though full recovery will take time. Tyler, who had been watching from the doorway, felt a wave of relief. That's good news. The 3 Celestians turned to him, their expressions solemn but grateful. Thank you, Tyler, Lasara said, using his first name in a rare departure from her usual formality. You risked much to save him. It was the right thing to do, Tyler replied simply. Nevertheless, we are grateful, Zarina added. Minter Kelvin is important to us, not just as our former director, but as a visionary who supported our research when others called for its suppression. What happened to him? Tyler asked. Why was he alone on that damaged ship? We won't know until he regains consciousness, Tellera said. But the data core you recovered may provide answers. While Lasara remained to monitor their patient, Tellera and Zarina accompanied Tyler to the command deck to examine the recovered data core. Connecting it to the ship's systems required several modifications, but eventually, they managed to access its contents. It's a research log, Zarina reported, scanning the data. And navigation records, communications archives. Her voice trailed off as she delved deeper into the information. What is it? Tyler prompted, noticing the sudden tension in her posture. According to these logs, Zarina said slowly, Minter Kelvin continued our research after we fled. In secret, working with a small group of like-minded scientists. They achieved a breakthrough, Talera added, reading over Zarina's shoulder. Something called the harmonic resonance theory. It's remarkable. A completely new approach to interstellar travel. And dangerous, Zarina continued grimly. The religious authorities discovered their work. There was a purge, more severe than the one we escaped. Minter Kelvin fled with the research data, hoping to preserve their discoveries. His ship was damaged during the escape, Talera surmised from the logs. He managed to reach the asteroid and activate the distress beacon before his injuries forced him into stasis. How long has he been there? Tyler asked. According to the timestamp on the beacon, Zarina calculated approximately 7 months. Tyler whistled low. Lucky his stasis pod lasted that long. Celestian technology is designed with redundancies, Talera explained. But yes, he was fortunate we detected the signal when we did. A call from the medical bay interrupted their discussion. He's waking up, Lasara reported, her voice tense with anticipation. They hurried back to find Minter Kelvin stirring on the medical platform, his silver-white hair flowing with returning consciousness. His eyes, when they opened, were a deep violet that seemed to glow in the bay's subdued lighting. His gaze moved slowly around the room, finally settling on the 3 Celestian women. Recognition dawned in his expression, followed by disbelief. Lasara? Talera? Zarina? His voice was weak but melodious, deeper than the females. How is this possible? We found your distress signal, Minter, Lasara explained gently. You're aboard a human vessel, the Nebula Wanderer. Kelvin's violet eyes shifted to Tyler, who felt suddenly self-conscious under the alien's penetrating gaze. A human ship? Kelvin asked. You've been living among humans? This is Captain Tyler Grant, Zarina introduced. He is our husband, according to Celestian law. We sought protection through the bonding tradition. Kelvin's expression registered surprise, then understanding. Ingenious solution, he murmured. The ancient laws can sometimes serve new purposes. Tyler stepped forward. Welcome aboard, sir. You're safe here. Kelvin inclined his head slightly. I am grateful for your assistance, Captain, and curious about the circumstances that led 3 of my most brilliant researchers to find sanctuary with you. Over the next few hours, as Kelvin's strength gradually returned, they exchanged stories. The Celestians explained their escape and subsequent arrangement with Tyler, while Kelvin shared the details of his continued research and eventual flight from persecution. The harmonic resonance theory is revolutionary, he explained, sitting up now with assistance from Lasara. It could transform not just Celestian space travel, but interspecies relations throughout known space. How? Tyler asked. Current faster-than-light travel relies on compressing space in front of a vessel and expanding it behind, what humans call warp drive, Kelvin explained. Effective but enormously energy-intensive, limiting its practical applications. Our theory proposes an alternative, Talera continued, her excitement evident in her swirling hair. Using specific harmonic frequencies to align a vessel with the natural resonance patterns of space-time itself. Like surfing a wave instead of pushing through water, Zarina added, seeing Tyler's confusion. Precisely, Kelvin nodded. The energy requirements would be a fraction of current methods. Interstellar travel could become accessible to smaller vessels, independent operators, even research ships. Which threatens the corporate monopolies on space travel, Tyler realized, and challenges your religious authorities' ability to control who goes where. Exactly, Kelvin confirmed. The elders saw it as a threat to their power. They ordered all research destroyed and researchers recalibrated. A somber silence fell over the medical bay. What will you do now? Tyler finally asked. Kelvin looked thoughtful. The research must be preserved and eventually implemented, but safely, away from those who would suppress it. You could stay with us, Lasara suggested. The Nebula Wanderer has become a sanctuary of sorts. Kelvin looked to Tyler. Captain Grant has already taken considerable risk harboring 3 Celestian fugitives. Adding a 4th would increase that risk exponentially. Tyler considered the situation. Having another Celestian aboard, especially one actively pursued by authorities, would indeed increase their danger. But the potential benefits of this harmonic resonance theory sounded revolutionary. And there was something about Kelvin's dignified determination that Tyler found himself respecting. "You're welcome to stay," he decided. "At least until you've fully recovered, and we can make a more permanent plan." Kelvin's violet eyes studied Tyler with newfound interest. "You are an unusual human, Captain Grant. Most would prioritize their safety over aiding fugitive aliens." Tyler shrugged. "Most humans haven't married 3 alien women and discovered their ship runs better than it has any right to. I'm already in pretty deep." Over the next 6 months, Kelvin's recovery progressed steadily. The Celestian scientist integrated into their unusual crew, his brilliant mind contributing to further enhancements of the Nebula Wanderer. Together, they perfected a working prototype of the harmonic resonance drive, installed in secret within the seemingly ordinary cargo ship. Their test flight changed everything. The Nebula Wanderer traveled to Alpha Centauri and back in just 14 hours, a journey that would have taken conventional ships weeks. The success was monumental but had to remain hidden. Such technology would make them targets of both human corporations and Celestian authorities. The solution came unexpectedly during a routine cargo run to the outer colonies. They encountered a research vessel from Earth's Scientific Coalition, an independent organization dedicated to advancing technology for the benefit of all species rather than corporate profit. They could protect the research, Kelvin suggested. Implement it gradually, responsibly. After careful vetting, Tyler and his Celestian family presented their breakthrough to the Coalition's leadership. The alliance proved ideal. The Coalition had the political influence to shield them from persecution and the ethical framework to ensure the technology would benefit all spacefaring species. 5 years after their unconventional marriage began, Tyler sat with his 3 Celestian wives in the observation deck of their new home, a research station orbiting Earth, where they now served as honored scientists developing the next generation of space travel technology. "Our arrangement was supposed to be temporary," Tyler mused, watching the blue planet below. 5 years maximum, we agreed. Lasara's luminescent hair swirled gently. "Do you wish to dissolve our bond?" Tyler looked at the 3 towering women who had become not just his crew, but his family. "Actually, I was thinking the opposite. This marriage of convenience became something real. I'd like to renew our vows. This time, because we choose each other, not because circumstances forced us together." The 3 Celestians exchanged glances, their hair brightening with emotion Tyler had learned to recognize as joy. "We would be honored," they said in unison. 2 weeks later, they stood together in a ceremony that blended human and Celestian traditions. With Kelvin officiating and Coalition colleagues as witnesses, Tyler Grant and his 3 alien wives renewed their commitment. No longer refugees and protector, but equals and partners in a shared future. As for the harmonic resonance drive, it revolutionized space travel just as Kelvin had predicted. The technology spread throughout human space and eventually reached the Celestian homeworld, where it catalyzed a cultural revolution that overthrew the restrictive elders. The new government welcomed their once exiled scientists as heroes, establishing diplomatic relations with humanity and other species. Tyler and his unusual family became legendary figures. The human captain who married 3 giant alien women and changed the course of interstellar history. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also, leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.